Hello Internet, Tali in here, and today we are talking Alfred North Whitehead's seminal work on metaphysics, process and reality. No, only joking, we're talking allied races. And yes, I know, if you want to hear about allied races, there's not exactly a scarcity of YouTube channels or forum posts to give you your hit, but bear with me on this, okay, because I've had a tiny little thought in my tiny little brain, which to me at least is more than a little interesting, more than a little exciting. Okay, so maybe not on a pyromancer, the old gods are actually titans, or actually Elune is actually your mum, as long as you ignore Chronicle, level of mind-blowing revelatory awesomeness. But when I thought this thought, it was enough to make me stop what I was doing and go, huh, which is pretty much just as good. And I did write out an entire script for this. I started recording it and editing it, but I decided that actually I didn't like that, and I just want to show you. So we're going to do it a little bit differently today. Okay, so we all know about allied races, yeah? And how there are currently 4 in-game, and how there will eventually be 6 when Battle for Azeroth launches, and that Blizzard said they plan on adding more as the expansion progresses. And now everyone's favourite game is to play the what will the next allied races be game, which is a game that YouTubers especially love, and me especially, and not that I'm keeping score, but a game that I'm winning because Ian did actually just confirm that Draenor orcs would be one, just like we said months ago. Not that I'm keeping score though. Good. And so far, all of our predictions as to what race will be added next have been educated guesses based on new models being added to the game, or generally just stuff that makes sense, or that we just really want, and that's fine. But what if I told you that I think there's a much better and more foolproof way of predicting what races we're going to get to play? So I'm just going to show you this using my World of Warcraft account, which has been upgraded to a Battle for Azeroth pre-purchase by Blizzard for free, and I have to tell you that legally. I mean, I think I have to tell you that. They flagged it for an upgrade, but I couldn't be bothered waiting for that to go through, so I just bought one anyway. So actually, I don't know if I really have to tell you or not, so I just told you anyway. Why not? Thanks, Blizz, though. Thanks for the thought. Really appreciate it. Okay, so I think it's a pretty safe bet at this point that by the end of Battle for Azeroth, there will be a total of 6 playable allied races for each faction. And this is because when you go to the allied race character creation screen, you have these awkwardly long empty flags which are big enough to fit 6 races on each side. Now granted, this could just be because they are using the same graphic as the normal character creation screen, but it seems like it would have been an easy enough job just to shorten these banners if they knew that they weren't going to end up filling them. And how do we recruit our allied races? Well, for all the ones we brought into the fold so far, the journey has started at the new faction embassies, where a prominent lore character with strong ties to the new race has given us a short unlock quest line which explains how and why that new race has joined the faction. So, Alleria starts you off on your Void Elf questline because, you know, she's an elf with some pretty strong connections to the Void. The Adrian kicking off the Nightborn recruitment drive has already been foreshadowed by her conversation with Silgrin on the Vindicar, and likewise Terralion enlisting your help to recruit the Lightforged Draenei and Bane the Highmountain Tauren. It all makes sense. But here's the thought that made me go, huh? Because you'd assume, wouldn't you, that all new allied races added later would be unlocked in the same way, via a character in the embassy giving you a quest. And here's the thing, each embassy is already full of other important lore characters, just hanging about, doing nothing. Almost like they are just waiting to get you started on another allied race unlock quest. Moira definitely will. She is definitely going to be the one to start you on your Dark Iron Dwarves journey. And look, she pretty much says so. And even though Rocken is a troll in the Horde building, it seems likely that actually the Zandalari quests will be given to you by Sourfang once we rescue him and Talanji from Stormwind in what looks to be a pre-patch scenario. So what about all those other faction leaders just hanging about in the embassy? Is it safe to assume that any new allied race unlock quests will be given to us by one of these NPCs? And can working out what races these leaders would have connections to give us our best clues yet as to what allied races we can expect? So let's take, for example, Eitrig. Now, there is no reason for Eitrig to be in the Horde embassy on the face of things. Yeah, he's an important orc who has been an advisor to multiple war chiefs, but it's Sourfang who sits on the Orgrimmar throne. Eitrig is not the orc leader. Well, we now know that uncorrupted Draenor orcs are a confirmed upcoming allied race, and if Sourfang is there, or will be there, to give the Zandalari troll unlock quests, as predicted, then Blizzard need another character with strong old school orc links to give those quests out, and who better than Eitrigg of the Black Hand clan, a veteran of the First, Second and Third Wars, who was actually with Thrall when they discovered the uncorrupted Magar in Outland, who actually fought alongside our timeline versions of Grommash, and who is already musing about how any new recruits must have honour in their hearts. If they lack it, their presence only diminishes us. There's no other reason for him to be here. So the question is, who are the other characters in the 2 embassies, and what new allied races are they there to unlock? Let's start with the Alliance. And sorry if people run in front of the screen and stuff while we're doing this. The Alliance embassy considerably busier than the Horde embassy. Void Elf hype. With Southbank being AWOL, there are currently more NPCs in the Stormwind embassy than the Horde counterpart. And indeed, there are more than 6, so there are more than the 6 allied races we mentioned at the start of this video. So after Turalyon and Alleria, who have already helped us unlock quests, and Moira, who definitely will, who's left? Well, there is Gen Greymane for a start. The Gilnean king, Horde hate boner fanatic, and very good boy, who has the ear of the King Anduin like no one else. If he is here in this embassy to introduce a new race into the Alliance, what race would it be? Well, do you remember in that video where we were totally right about Draenor orcs? We also predicted Night Elf Worgen, and I don't want to repeat ourselves too much here, but I still think that's a pretty good shout personally. With the burning of Teldrassil coming up, the Night Elves are going to need a new home. Gen owes them big time after they helped out Gilneas before, and honestly, how cool would it be to have Gilneas phased into a friendly starting city for new Night Elf Worgen characters, just like Suramar has been for new Nightborn? Oh yes, Blizzard, the precedent has been set with Purple Town, now make it happen for Spookyville, please. Or maybe it's poor homeless Tyrande who's there to introduce Night Elf Worgen into the Alliance. She hates the Horde almost as much as Gen, and that's before they turned her home into the world's biggest flaming Sambuca. Could she finally be ready to accept practitioners of the forbidden druid form back into the mix for the good of the war effort? Something that, it's fair to say, would probably upset Malfurion, but he's not even here. He's probably asleep or something, so give a shit. I honestly can't think of any other race that Tyrande could be connected to at this moment, to be honest. In which case, it could be that Gen is here to bring in the much hyped Kultiran humans, the little and large variants that most of us fully expect to be made playable at some point now. I could quite easily see him getting chummy with them at some point during the expansion. After all, they have very similar taste in jackets and facial hair, and he is such a good boy, so that would make sense too. But what about Velen? Is Velen even going to be involved at all? Surely if anyone has earned a rest this expansion, it's Velen, and part of me wouldn't be surprised to see him spend literally the entirety of Battle for Azeroth sitting in this chair, which is fair enough really, because I'll be spending the entirety of my time in Battle for Azeroth sitting in this chair, so who am I to judge? But then again, when you click on him, he says, "It is time we forge our own fate. Part of that is finding new allies to stand beside us." So maybe, just maybe, he's thinking about inviting the Broken of Kroken to the party. Since they're all best mates again now, and Argus is kind of a dead wasteland with no world soul. This would of course involve Blizzard actually clarifying whether or not we can still actually get to Argus if we want to, or if when that portal closed at the end of the Antorus raid, the whole planet and everyone unlucky enough to be on it was left completely unreachable 25,000 years away. Sorry, Hatun. And Blizzard don't seem too keen on explaining that at the moment, so maybe Velen is just going to sit down the whole time, and honestly, that's okay. Give the man a break. Then there is Acer, who is a strange figure because she's a Pandaren, and to put it bluntly, Pandaren don't generally get invited to Alliance or Horde parties, but she's in the embassy, and there could be a really obvious allied race reason behind that. The Jinyu, don't forget, have already fought under the Alliance banner before in Mists of Pandaria, and they did pretty well for 6-foot fish people, so it's a bit odd that they never got asked back. Why not now? Jinyu would be a really popular choice among the player base, and the way Battle for Azeroth appears to be shaping up thematically is more than a little suggestive of Mists of Pandaria, so it would also be pretty fitting to finally induct them into the faction properly, I think. Now for me, the most intriguing presence in the embassy is Mecca the gnome leader. Now, gnomes are another one of those races that Blizz like to pretend don't really exist, but come on, look, Mecca is cool, okay? Could it be time that he finally steps into the spotlight and sends us on a quest chain to enlist the help of his own ancestors, the Mecca Gnomes? Now, this is one that I know a small, pardon the pun, but fervent section of the player base would go crazy for, because they're like gnomes, but they're robots. In short, pardon the pun, anything is cooler if you turn it into a robot. Dinosaurs, waiters, girlfriends, you name it. And the same is almost true for gnomes too. Well, sorry to ruin everyone's fun, but I think it's highly unlikely that we'll ever get playable Mecca Gnomes in-game. I just don't see Blizzard thinking that an unmoving, expressionless face is a great recipe for a good player character, you know? So either Mecha Talk is just there to make up the numbers, for a change, or there's another possibility. In amongst all the data-mined Battle for Azeroth broadcast text is the name of a new island scenario, Junker Gnome Caverns. Could this be a new type of gnome variant being added to the game? One that's reminiscent of our favourite Overwatch character, perhaps partially mechanized and augmented with their own improvised technology, kind of like halfway between the current gnomes and Mecha Gnomes? And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Taliesin, that is a big, big reach based on literally one word in unfinished data mine text. And you're right, of course, you're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is, if we don't get Junker Gnomes now, I can't possibly be happy, and that's it. I'm done with WoW, it's dead. WoW is dead, it's a dead game. Onto the Horde. Now, the Horde Embassy gives us less obvious options, but still some pretty tantalizing possibilities. We've already had Liadrin and Bane send us on our way to new races, and like I say, I expect Sourfang to be our point of contact for the Zandalari, and Eitrig here to be the Draenei orc guy. So who does that leave us? Well, Roken for a start. This is a tough one because we don't actually know for sure that Roken even is the leader of the Darkspear at this point. He hasn't got a super cool new model, and honestly, if he's not even here to start the Zandalar questline, why has he even bothered turning up? I mean, he has got a little bit of history trying to sort out the mess in Zuldrak with the Frost Trolls. I'm pretty sure that everyone would love to play as Frost Trolls, but that might be a problem seeing as they sacrificed their animal gods to try and fight off the Lich King and became completely mad. There's Sand Trolls, but that's a little bit tenuous, plus we're already getting Zandalari Trolls as well as 2 new elf races, and elves are just trolls anyway, so that might be troll overkill somewhat. Plus, he doesn't really sound like he's got anyone in mind when you click on him, so who knows? I don't know about Roken. G Firepaw, however, would have much more obvious options. So yes, we find him here in the Horde Embassy, meditating quietly in a corner, and why not? I mean, it's not like anyone's going to talk to him, is it? But he could be our gateway to Hosen, who, like the Jinyu, have already worn faction colours in Mists of Pandaria, but unlike the Jinyu, have a model and a movement style that probably rules them out of being playable characters, if we're totally honest. We do know, though, that Tortollan are going to be an actual thing this expansion, and think about it, G knows loads about massive turtles because he used to live on one, so he would be a perfect ambassador for them. An added bonus, he'd be helping to bring a race into the Horde who would be even more ridiculous looking than Pandaren, so really, for him, it's a win-win. There's also the small matter, pardon the pun, of Vulpera. Because we know that Horde players will be befriending Vulpera as they level through Zandalar, and that there's a rep grind attached to them as well. So I, at this stage, would be really genuinely surprised if we didn't see these little guys become an allied race at some point. And when they do, who better than another furry to enlist them? They can compare tails, it'd be perfect. My only doubt regarding Vulpera right now is what faction they'd actually join. Because yes, I know that they're in the Horde zone, and I know they said Horde players would befriend them, but I still can't shake the feeling that they'd end up on the Alliance side, mostly because of their skeletons. Vulpera work from the Goblin skeleton, they share all the same animations as goblins, and I think Vulpera might be a way of giving Alliance players access to that skeleton, just like Void Elf gives them access to Blood Elf models, and the Zandalari Trolls and the Nightborn go some way towards giving Horde access to Night Elf models. That's just my thinking. I'm probably completely wrong, and yes, okay, fine, I dare say we'll see Vulpera dressed in that sweet Horde Warfront armor very soon, because that would be so legit. So assuming that Horde don't get Vulpera and Tortollan though, that would leave one spare spot. Gallywix has already pretty much flat out said that he's not interested in making allies. So that leaves Nathanos Blightcaller, Sylvanas' most trusted ally and the only dark human ranger. Could he be the key to another allied race that we predicted before? Undead Elves. I think we can all agree that if there's one species we all need more of, it's elves. Absolutely. And with Sylvanas looking more and more like she's ready to just nope out and do her own thing this expansion, could she find a way to start raising the fallen of her own people to bolster the ranks of the Forsaken and the Horde? Like, Forsaken Elves would clearly look really cool, but it would also put the Horde 3-2 up in the playable Elf Arms race. 5-2 if you count Trolls, and you probably should count Trolls. So what do you guys think? I find myself speculating a lot more on the Horde side of this than the Alliance, where the choices seem a bit more obvious. And I am sorry to go over this subject again, but I think that linking the new allied races to the NPCs and the 2 embassies is a really interesting idea that does inform the predictions a little bit more. Plus, I just really enjoy talking about it because allied races are super fun. I love how open and full of potential this new system of adding playable races to the game has made things. And of course, I didn't mention possibly the most exciting ambassador of all, because don't forget that when Stormwind Embassy first appeared on the PTR, there was another NPC hanging out there, Rathian. So anyway, let us know what you think. Is this whole idea about each of those NPCs being in the embassy to start off an allied questline, is that something that you just don't see being true at all and you think I've just made up? I don't know, for me it sounds completely legit, but let us know. And thanks for joining us today. If you did enjoy this video, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make them happen. Without you guys, we just wouldn't be able to make the videos that we do, so thank you. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Pyromancer. No, my name is Tali from me and Evertal. Until next time, cheerio.